Hart, H-A-R-T. Do I think we have a problem in the community with veterans? I would have to say yes, and that problem would be lack of treatment and lack of facilities and lack of people that are qualified to take care of these veterans that come back home with some of these issues that they may deal with, pertaining to whatever they may have seen or been through in combat or whatever conflict that they had to experience. So I would say yes, PTSD is a big issue, and I think that we have been denying it to a certain aspect, and now it needs to be put at the forefront because it's a problem that we have to admit that we have here in the United States. Some of the problems that I've seen, pretty much the same thing I just mentioned. Lack of healthcare, lack of healthcare providers, lack of people that's qualified to teach these veterans the coping skills, lack of facilities to even put up with the amount of traffic that these VAs are seeing these days. We had some of the Vietnam veterans are still going through some of the stuff that these Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans are going through today. So me myself being a veteran that suffers from PTSD, I would say some of the issues that I see is some of the soldiers can't get the proper treatment they need because of the facilities are overwhelmed. The doctors are working long hours and it's pretty much overwhelmed. I would say the system has been overwhelmed and backed up for a long time now. I would have to say I don't think we have the adequate help we need because some doctors are not able to diagnose soldiers with PTSD, so they have to see providers that aren't able to even diagnose them properly. So they just have to see healthcare providers and other people that is not really, I wouldn't say it's not helping them, but not giving them the correct help that they need because the actual guys that are able to diagnose them are overbooked. Well, here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, I would say they have some good programs. We're actually right here in front of one of the new VA facilities. I don't think it actually sees people with mental issues, though. This is more of the facility that sees people on their yearly checkups. It's like the dog and pony show. Where we need the help at is on the other side of town. It's at the VA on Ramsey Street. That's where you see the more inpatient. And actually, they're building that facility up now. To make it bigger to withstand the traffic that's been seen here. And we're here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, right outside Fort Bragg, which is one of the biggest military facilities, and that has the most a big population for soldiers. So we deploy out of Fort Bragg a lot. So there's a lot of soldiers here locally that's being affected by some of these psychological issues, such as PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, and so to speak, schizophrenia. There's a lot of things that come with the aftermath of war and combat. And here, I would say, we're trying to make an effort and put an effort forth because, they're doing improvements to the other facility. We got a brand new facility right here. I just think that we need to hire more doctors and more providers to be able to give these soldiers hands-on and one-on-one a lot more. Some of my suggestions would be maybe we could, start using more interns. There's people that go to school for this stuff, college. There's young people that are thriving out here to help in the community. We should reach out more and get some of these people in some of the positions that they need to be in. I would say we have a few other sources outside of the VA. Not that many though, but there's a local nonprofit organizations that do help veterans around in this area. One that I could just think of off the top of my head is the Soldier Support Center. They got the Veterans there's a veteran support center downtown. So they have, different organizations that's trying to step up and, put forth an effort to help out. And I believe there's been some training going on behind the scenes with some of the local civilian doctors as well. So some of the veterans can have another choice to go to another provider outside the VA. So yeah, I do think there's other organizations that's stepping up and they're doing a good job. My answer with that, as a soldier that returned from deployment here in Fort Bragg, and wasn't able to cope with PTSD the proper way, I would say no. Soldiers don't receive the help that they need because, first of all, there's a stigma. There's a stigma behind PTSD and mental illnesses that soldiers can't even, speak up for themselves because they have this stigma that they're going to be looked at a certain way, that they're going to, lose their position, they're going to get kicked out of the Army, or whatever the case may be. So, some soldiers, they never say anything or speak up for help for that reason, because of stigma. That's why you got guys that turn to medicating with alcohol, medicating with drugs, medicating with adrenaline rushing activities that aren't safe for their health. Indulging in suicidal ideations and even in some cases committing suicide. 22 veterans commit suicide a day. That is far too high. 1 is too high. So 22 is definitely too high. So I would say, not that I know what's being done behind the scenes, but as a soldier that experienced returning from combat firsthand, I didn't receive the help that I needed. It wasn't until that I went to the VA that I actually started seeking some type of help for my mental illnesses that I did have. That's a kind of, it's. I would have to say yes and no, and I would have to say yes because I know that PTSD, there's some side effects that you have from PTSD, and some of those side effects might not go hand in hand with the law. Or in the reverse aspect, I would say no because some of these law enforcement officers are not properly trained to handle someone that may have a mental illness. So there may be just a break in communication between the some of the providers and some of these people that are out here dealing with these people firsthand, like law enforcement. So there might just be a break in communication, or something that needs to be brought to attention to actually deal with the issue. I wouldn't say that they should receive special treatment, but I would definitely say that everything needs to be taken into consideration. Every situation is different. And so if you have a soldier that's returned from combat that may have been exposed to certain things that someone else that did the same exact thing may not have been exposed to, well, what are the side effects? What are some of the medications that he's under the influence of? What are some of the triggering factors that's being, that has something to do with this soldier or service member acting out in this manner? We have to bring all these things to the forefront if we're going to try to, put these soldiers on the front line in battle and then bring these guys back and say there's nothing supposed to be wrong with them. And while I'm on the same topic, look at the police here in America. I wouldn't say that they're wrong for what they're doing, and I wouldn't say that they're right, but I would say that there's, issues that need to be brought to attention.
Do you think we have a problem in the community with veterans and PTSD?
How you doing? My name is Lost Soldier, L-O-S-T, Soldier, S-O-L-D-I-E-R. Question again, please.
Yes, Mr. Hart, do you think we have a problem in the community with veterans and PTSD?
Yes, I do think we have a problem here in the community.
What problems do you think we have, or what have you seen?
Well, I've seen some of my battle buddies committing suicide. I've seen some people that are reaching out for help and can't get the help they need. I've seen some of the doctors not qualified to diagnose some of these soldiers. I've seen a lot of stuff.
So, sir, do you think we have adequate resources in the community to help veterans that's been diagnosed with PTSD?
No, we don't have everything we need because they're taking stuff away. So I don't think we have everything we need. We need more. So no, we don't have everything we need.
So, sir, what's your opinion of the local VA hospital and its ability to treat veterans that are suffering from PTSD and other psychological issues?
Well, I think they need to take away the stigma. There's too much stigma out here, and these soldiers can't even, come to their command and tell them about a problem they have because of how they're going to be viewed.
What's your opinion of the local VA hospital and its ability to treat veterans that suffer from PTSD and other psychological issues?
Well, I just think they're, overloaded. If they had the manpower that they needed and the providers that they needed with the right education, I think that we might be all right.
And next one was, do you think there's room for improvement in the current system?
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of room for improvement.
What are your suggestions?
Well, well, my first suggestion would be to legalize medical marijuana. It's been proven to help soldiers that suffer from PTSD. It's been proven to help people with all kinds of psychological issues. And damn it, they need to legalize it so we can, stop some of these soldiers that's been committing suicide and whatnot. And damn it, that's what I think we should do. Legalize marijuana because it's going to help soldiers that need help.
Now, do you know if any of these ideas or services are available in the local community?
Well, actually, yes. I would have to say yes to that one. The CBD community, which is the hemp community, they've been, it's been an additional asset. So when soldiers don't want to get treated at the VA, they can go to some of these other nonprofit organizations and they can go see the hemp doctor.
Okay. So do you feel veterans are receiving the care they need from the military and local community upon their return from deployments?
Say what? No, I don't believe they are because soldiers are coming back from war and that goes back to the stigma. They're feeling like they're going to be put out. They're going to be, they're going to lose their career if they speak up and ask for help. Maybe the military needs to take away the stigma so we can get the soldiers the help they need.
Next question. Do you think there's any correlation between crimes committed by military members and PTSD?
Well, I think I'd have to say yes, only because PTSD, there's certain side effects.
Well, for those military members that do end up in some kind of trouble or have issues with law enforcement or the court system, do you feel they should receive special consideration in criminal matters due to their PTSD diagnosis?
Yes, they should receive special treatment. And I say that only because everything should be taken into consideration. So if I'm diagnosed with something, my side effects might be different than the regular civilian. So my case would need to have extra attention. So yes, these soldiers need to be looked at and viewed as, having special needs.